Over spring break 2014, we took a 5-day trip to Utah. On our way was Grand Falls, just north of Flagstaff. This waterfall is 185 feet tall, higher than Niagara Falls. Being fed by the Little Colorado River, it often doesn't run without heavy rains or snowmelt. The falls were formed when lava from a nearby crater flowed into the river and created a dam. The river eventually rerouted itself around the lava and the falls were formed. After exploring the falls, we headed back to the truck and drove across the Little Colorado River and continued north towards Utah. While leaving Grand Falls, we quickly visited some old ruins at the Wupatki National Monument. Then we drove all the way to Valley of the Gods. Arriving after dark, we awoke to a beautiful view. As daylight reached through the monuments, we drove through the rest of the Valley of the Gods, enjoying the scenic views. Then we drove up the Moki Dugway towards the maze in Canyonlands, Utah. While driving to Height, we enjoyed the last stretches of paved road. We crossed the Colorado River just before hitting the backcountry roads. Then we drove 50 miles of scenic and rough dirt roads, taking about 4 hours to arrive at Chimney Rock. Along the way, we saw Mother and Child Rock as we entered Canyonlands. After many bumps and low-range rock crawling, we reached the wall. Later, we saw the plug. Soon after, we reached our parking destination at Chimney Rock. Arriving in the afternoon, we started our backpack from Chimney Rock into the maze. We entered through the trail that connects to the plug, which quickly scrambles down into the canyon. Unlike the Maze Overlook Trail, this route is easy enough that you can keep your backpack on most of the way down. The scramble takes you 1,000 feet down into the washy floor of the canyon. To our surprise, the canyon floors had some water running through them. Night was already falling as we reached our campsite. In the morning, we prepared for our day hike up to the maze overlook. This scramble has some sections where backpackers often use a rope to pass down their packs, but it is a perfect trail for a day hike. The overlook sits wonderfully above the canyons, providing an excellent view. Chocolate Drops is visible, but no trail leads to the drops from this side of the canyon. We enjoyed the views before eventually heading back down to see the harvest scene. The harvest scene is a set of rock art along the floor of the maze. These were created more than 2,000 years ago by people who lived here during the Archaic period. After the harvest scene and some more exploring, we returned to our camp and prepared for an extremely windy night with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Numerous rocks and bags managed to keep our tents planted in the wind. On day 3 of our trip, we began our backpack out of the maze, coming up Pete's Mesa Trail. This trail is also relatively easy climbing compared to the maze overlook. However, there are still a few sections that could make those nervous about heights uneasy. Once at the top, Chimney Rock was in our sights, and we eagerly headed back to the truck. We then packed up and drove down to the dollhouse right next to the Colorado River. Finally, we headed out on Road 730 towards Poison Springs. Near Poison Springs, just across the Dirty Devil River, sits a less known narrow canyon similar to Antelope Canyon. This spectacular destination is called Happy Canyon, and it requires crossing the Dirty Devil River, which is often only knee-deep. After crossing the river, the Narrows soon begin. Lighting is best during noon when the sun is able to reach down through the narrow and tall canyons. Many of the Narrows are just as beautiful as Antelope Canyon, and no tour guides or fees are required inside Happy Canyon. With the right lighting, some of the sections look absolutely stunning. After an hour of enjoying the impressive canyon, we finally left and made our way back towards Tucson. We enjoyed one last view of the Colorado River while driving past Height. And just before Mexican Hat, we continued down the Moki Dugway once again. Finally, we stopped at the Mexican Hat Lodge for some excellent dinner by the fire. We eagerly ate real food after 5 days of backpacking and drove back to Tucson with full stomachs and priceless memories.